And Tolber.
Here.
Great. Thank you very much. We received an agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Swan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Curtis. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Great. We also received minutes from our regular meeting on October 3rd. Any comments, questions, feedback? Okay. Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the October 3rd minutes?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Swan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Curtis. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Communication announcements. Any communications or announcements?
No communications and announcements. I'll provide some updates on Imagine Kalamazoo during the city planners report.
Okay, great. There are no public hearings tonight. We will have an opportunity later in the agenda for public comment on non-agenda items, so we'll bring that up later. But we do have one discussion and action item. That's PC 2024.10, the 2025 Capital Improvement Plan. Request by the CPED Department to review the 2025 Capital Improvement Plan.
Thank you, Chair Milliken. This year, we sought to bring this ahead in November instead of December. This is the Capital Improvement Plan, which is a list of a lot of the larger capital expenditures of the city: streets, wastewater, buildings, water. And to give a presentation on the information contained within the details of the CIP is Director of Public Services and City Engineer James Baker will give a presentation.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Chair Milliken, and thanks for the introduction, Planner Durkee. For those of you who don't know me, my name is James Baker. I'm the City Kalamazoo Public Services Director and City Engineer, and so I'm honored and privileged tonight to be able to present to you folks the Capital Improvement Plan for 2025. Before I get into the details of the plan, I wanted just to take a moment and talk through the process. How do we come up with the capital improvement plan? What's involved with the capital improvement plan, and give you some context and background in how that's developed. And so, kind of speaking broadly, there are many departments that are part of that capital improvement plan. And we've got that broken out. You see the general fund, parking, streets, local and major streets, water and wastewater all have their individual capital improvement plans. That's part of the overall, all those plans together are the, city capital improvement plan. Each one of those funds has a different guiding star, if you will, a North Star that kind of guides their project focus and their deliverables, while all of that is in large guided by the community goals, our City Kalamazoo City Commission community goals, and our IK 2025 now transitioning to IK 2035 master plan goals. So we use master planning and our City Kalamazoo community goals to align our project focus. Some of that is very easy to see in the general fund when you look at specific improvements to things like farmers market and recreation and things like parks. Millen Park is an example of something like that. It's pretty easy to see that clear alignment. When we, dive into the weeds a little bit further and we get into, page 3 of the water department capital improvement plan, and you see generator at a station, it's becomes a little foggy of like, okay, how does that generator at that station correspond back to these Imagine Kalamazoo goals? And so, with that, within the utilities, we have strategic asset management plans. So that's really something that we've been working on. We have to submit to the state of Michigan that really looks at all the infrastructure and it looks at criticality, reliability, what would happen if a component failed and we'd have to kind of replace that, how critical is that element? What is the risk of failure? What is the likelihood of failure? So all those things kind of go in together as a matrix to help decide those projects. We also work with our partners in the townships, both in water and wastewater. They have to submit their master plans to us, and so we want to make sure that as we grow the water system over time, we're doing so that reflects what the township wants to see from their master plan, and so it aligns with their goals and alignment and things like that. So we'll get into specifics here, but I just want to kind of provide that that the grounding focus of how things come into CIP. Those focus elements, really kind of guided by those master plans, IK25 plans, asset management plans, build into bigger CIPs. So we've got 10-year and 20-year bigger CIPs that are further out than what you see in front of you. So when it gets down to this point, really the first year and second year, so 2025 and 2026 within these capital improvement plans are very solid. Those are projects that are very likely going to happen. They're funded, and we have very real intentions on doing those projects. As we get out to 2029, 2030, we're out in year 4 and year 5. The focus is a little less clear. Those projects, we show funding, we have intention to do them, but those numbers may change as we get closer to those in time. Another very real thing that happens within this capital improvement plan, and especially in the bigger funds, water and wastewater, is you see that you have a tremendous amount of funding and a very large list of projects. We have and we track what's called a capital improvement execution rate. So we have found in water and wastewater that our capital improvement execution rate is about 70 to 80% of what that capital improvement plan is. So if we show you, say, a $30 million capital improvement plan in water, and we know what our execution rate is, we're really only going to fund through bonding somewhere in the neighborhood of $21 and $24 million to get that plan, moving and going forward. The reality is that some of these projects don't get off the ground as fast as we'd like them to. Some of them, we find that we have longer, it may take longer to get through the permitting process. We may have property acquisition challenges where we had an agreement with a property owner to get an easement or to have a purchase that may have fallen through. There may be changes in priority. We talked about that asset management plan and those reliability and those criticality factors. We might not do a generator at one station because we may have a station that's more critical, experience a loss of its existing generator. So just like we have at home where we might be saving for one goal, but then some life happens and we have to then react to that. Those same realities are happening every day, in our in these major funds that you have here in front of you. Again, that capital plan, looking at it, it can be daunting. You've got years across the top. You've got just a list of projects going down. The best way to read that and understand what's happening is go across the top and find the year you want to look at. We show previous years. We show FY24, that's where we're at today. We show FY25. FY25 starts January 1st. And then we show, years going out. So if you know the year that you want to look at, just look at that year and then go vertically down, and you can see if there's money in that year, that money in year line up with a project then to the right. And so you can say, okay, well, I see Mill and Park is funded, and that's going to happen. Another way to look at that is if you know like a specific project, you can go find that street or find that project and then go out across and see where is the money. So it's a little bit like bingo. If you know how to play bingo, you can read our capital improvement plan sheet. You just kind of have go across, find where the money's at, and where the money's at in the year, that's what year that project's going to happen. So having said all that, just want to summarize, really kind of what the capital plan focuses on in the different funds. In general fund, this is really kind of talking about the core city funded through the general fund, which is really kind of parks, facilities, things like City Hall, farmers market, public safety, our IT program, management services, fleet, heavy equipment. These are all the things that are funded by the general fund of the city. A new program that's showing now this year, parking. The city took responsibility back over of the parking system. So we've got capital improvements that have to be made to our parking ramps, major repairs, things of that nature, and then parking system, meters and equipment. Streets, we've got major streets and local streets. What our goals are to maintain and improve Paisley ratings. Streets have a life cycle from when we build a brand new street and the pavement's brand new to where the pavement's crumbling. And so all throughout that life cycle, we're looking to invest into that street to extend that life cycle. And some of the projects that we do may be different. So you'll see us doing some fog seals and urban chip seals on some of these streets and not doing a full reconstruct, because our goal is to really kind of maintain and improve that life cycle. Stormwater is also at this current time part of streets. That's where stormwater lives, and stormwater projects do take away from pavement projects. So I know a lot of folks, when we talk about streets, they want to see new pavement, but there's a lot of dollars in streets that goes to stormwater. So that's something that we're going to be looking at, maybe some alternatives to that in the future. Water and wastewater, these are true utilities in that there's no dollars, there's no taxpayer dollars that go to support water and wastewater. Water and wastewater are their own independent funds, no different than Consumers Energy. There's actually no city dollars that goes towards water and wastewater. It's all paid by rates. So the water bill that you pay, and that folks in water, we have 11 other jurisdictions that we serve. In wastewater, we have 22 different jurisdictions that we serve. So everybody that's in those jurisdictions, including City Kalamazoo, that pays a water bill and a sewer bill, or we do have some folks that pay only water, some folks that pay only sewer, depending on where we serve your district and how we serve your district. Those funds support those programs and those investments. There's a lot of regulatory compliance in water and wastewater. There's a lot of things that are not really choices. They're regulatory requirements. They're have-to-dos. It's a little bit different than a decision for say a playground. Should we put a new slide at Millen Park or not? There's some autonomy and some decision making that the city has to make that decision. Should we replace lead services or should we not? We don't have that autonomy. Michigan has passed a law that has made that decision for us, and we just found out earlier this month, actually it was in October, that the federal government and the president had announced that EPA has also made a rule change. So if you haven't followed that, Michigan law required all lead services be replaced in 20 years. And then in October, it was just announced that all lead services have to be replaced in 10 years as a federal law requirement. So that's just some examples of some things that are driving costs and projects in water or wastewater that are a little bit out of our control. PFAS is another one of those examples where we've got new federal regulations that are coming in that are going to be driving some investments. Next slide, please. So it might be a little hard to read, and I don't know if you guys got a screen in front of you there. If folks are looking online, it might be a little bit easier. But these are bar charts that are kind of showing you the respective investment plan for 2025 in each one of our funds. And I'll just go from, looking at the screen from left to right. The first one we have is general fund. That's about $8 million of investment. I think it's like 7.97 or something like that, rounded it off to 8. Major streets, we've got about 15.6 million. Local streets, we've got $800,000. Water, $144.5 million. So I'll talk more about that, but that's obviously a lot of projects and some pretty big projects. Wastewater, $14.5 million, and then parking, $900,000. Next slide, please. General fund, again, in the capital improvement plan, you've got the line items. You can go in and zero in and look at a specific project. It's not my intention to go through every single project, really just kind of highlight the types of projects and some specific projects that may draw some interest or some discussion. There's going to be work at the farmers market. So there was a lot of work at farmers market. Farmers market has really advanced over the last few years, and there's another next phase of that. That next phase is going to include a farmers market multi-purpose building, which would be an indoor event area that could offer recreation programming for students, children. That's going to kind of serve as a future use for YOU. That's going to be the new headquarters for YOU folks. And that's also going to allow the farmers market to, continue on over winter time period and everything else. There's just some, reoccurring programmatic, if you will, park equipment updates. There is minimum park improvements. That project is going to continue on. There's some improvements that are happening at public safety stations. Some of the stuff is just replacing doors, updating, replacing roofs, siding. It doesn't really change the functionality or the use of the facility, but it's investments that we have to make in building the envelope to ensure building life cycle. The crosstown facilities, the CPED department is scheduled to move back to crosstown because the courts have moved out of that facility. So there is kind of a reconfiguration that's going to change that from its primary use as a courthouse to office staffing. So that's a project involved with that. We've got some just, programmatic heavy equipment fleet things that happen every year that include things like dump trucks and, front end loaders. That same line item also covers fire trucks as well. And then another programmatic thing that just happens every year, public safety updates their breathing apparatus and equipment. So that's part of that. Next slide, please. And the slide everyone is, I'm sure, excited to see, construction for next year. So we are kind of picking up where we left off for our two-way street conversion. There's a whole lot of conversation on two-way streets. We've got a web page dedicated for that. There's public meetings that are happening for that. So we're going to be in construction phases of Kalamazoo Avenue and Douglas and West Main beginning in 2025. So, starting at West Main from Michigan Ave to Douglas, that's going to be phase 1A that's going to start first. And then we're going to move north on Douglas and then start Kalamazoo Ave between where Westnedge is to Douglas. So what that does is we're kind of building our detour as we go. So as we build West Main and we complete West Main in a two-way format from its current one-way format, that allows folks to detour Kalamazoo Ave, Michical, down to West Main, go now the new two-way on West Main, and then be able to go two-way on Douglas, kind of back around. So that project's going to have a local detour and a kind of a through detour. So if you need to be somewhere on Kalamazoo Avenue, we'll have a local detour. But if you just want to get past and through it, we'll have a separate detour for that. The area east of Westnedge is not going to be under construction by the city in 2025, but it will be under construction by Consumers Energy. So there's going to be construction occurring on that portion of it. That east leg portion of it from Harrison to Westnedge will be open. It's not going to be a total closure. There's going to be open, primarily during the entire time period, and then there will be specific closures for set time durations where needed, to get gas main, water main across, Porter, across Pitcher, across Park Street. That was done this year, so that's not going to close. So some of the work, some of the frustration that we went through this year kind of sets the table so we don't have as much of that next year. Westnedge Avenue between Kalamazoo Ave and Michigan Ave, that's going to start with our Phase 0 of Protect grant. So that's going to be the new route of Arcadia Creek. Arcadia Creek is actually going to have a future home along Michical, so that's pretty exciting. If you've driven on Michical lately, you may notice to the south and east, there looks like there's kind of like a area that's a bit of a blank slate, and that's the future home of Arcadia Creek. So we're going to be building that new channel under Westnedge and then making that turn kind of around Kalamazoo Avenue, and then we're going to align it. It's going to be kind of along the south line of Michical, and then build that all the way out to towards Oliver along the north side of Stadium Drive. So more to come on that. It's going to be pretty exciting. We're going to try to get that work underway, right away. Westnedge Ave from Vine to Michigan. That's not going to be the big project you see going on right now on Westnedge. That's just going to be a pavement project, a mill and overlay. So that will all happen under traffic. The lanes will just flip as we mill one side, pave it, flip them back over, pave it again. Porter Street, that's a big water project, so that's going to be a full reconstruct from Kalamazoo Ave and then under the railroad tracks and then up to Ransom. There's a water main in that area that's become a reliability concern, so that's something that we've got to get in there and replace that main. Burdick Street is another big transmission main project, so that's a big diameter pipe. And I don't know if folks have been coming out to our construction sites and really kind of seeing what size pipes going in, what projects, and kind of putting two to two together and figuring it out. So I'll tell you, we're building kind of a transmission backbone along from our main source of supply, which is around the Crosstown Ponds. We've got Central, we've got Station 37, we've got Station 4. Those stations are all kind of around Axtell Creek, Crosstown Ponds area where it's pretty wet all around the year. We've got a lot of wells there that produce a lot of water for our system. So we're building 24-inch line through that whole area, either 16 to 24-inch line, depending on where you're at on that. And then that extends north. It's going to come north along Burdick in Westnedge, and right now it's getting connected over from Crosstown over to Balch into Burdick. So that's why we're digging up Balch. So that's big water main that goes in there. And eventually, what we're building, what we're working towards, is that in the 1920s up through 1932, a 20-inch transmission line was built from the then Burdick pump station up to our Blakesley Reservoir. That Blakesley Reservoir is still in service today. It's 7.5 million gallons. Still provides us with the bulk of our water system. But if anybody has checked your calendars lately, the 1920s was, depending on where you measure that, nearly 100 years ago. And so it's time for us to start thinking about that replacement and redundant system so that we've got that backbone built. So that's what we're working now to build, that kind of redundant secondary backbone, so that that main 20-inch main that's been in service since, depending where you're at, where it was built, either 1920 up through 1932. That main's getting a little tired, and we'd like to start to take some pressure off that as soon as we can. So that gives some backgrounds for some of all this infrastructure work that we've been doing. Gold Street Bridge, that's not a reconstruct, that's just a redecking, but that will involve a closure. Campus Drive, I'm sure some Western students would be happy to learn that that project is happening. And then we also have some local street projects that are happening. Those are on Cobb and Bessie and Bosker. We also have a project that's off Cork Street, local street. Forgetting the name of it right now. It's in my notes. I apologize. But it's it's going to get done as well. So there's some of these local streets that are they're published. They're in the plan, but they're not as impactful as these big major streets here. Next slide. Talk about wastewater. We talked about a lot of work happening. We just completed series of several projects there. We completed odor control project, some pipeline projects, a tertiary project. The photo here is our new $26 million tertiary treatment system. That's the last step in the process of the wastewater plant. If you've never been out to the wastewater plant, I would highly encourage you to come out there. Every year we have Public Services Week. That's usually the third week in May, right around May 21st, give or take, right around Mother's Day. And we'll publicize it. We always have information out. We always talk to the City Commission about it before. And it's just a time to come out with your family, come out with the community. We give tours of the water and wastewater plant. We'll give you tours of the wastewater facility. You can see these new tertiary filters in action. And really helps to clean up the water that's going back into the Kalamazoo River. The water that we treat at the wastewater treatment plant, we treat about 27 million gallons a day. That's well over 1 million gallons per hour, about 1.3 million gallons per hour. And the water that we put back in the river is cleaner than the river itself. We also have responsibility for the sewer system, the collector systems, the interceptor system, so we've got a lot of improvements there. We've got projects that are happening on Newton Court, Fellows Court, Reverend Wright Court, and a siphon on John Street that's near XL Creek, so just south of Crosstown, that's going to be increasing the capacity of that system there. We also do trenchless rehabilitation, so we do projects that are kind of low impact. We're actually putting like a new pipe inside a pipe. In fact, we're actually doing a pretty big sewer on Patterson that's under construction right now, where we're putting in a new 36-inch diameter liner inside an old pipe, a pipe that was built in 1907 that's fallen apart, causing some sinkholes. So we're actually lining that with a new pipe within a pipe, and it saves us from having to close Patterson completely and digging the whole thing up. So we're able to just do some lane closures, get in there, do the work that we've got to do, put that pipe liner in. We're doing a 1,000-foot liner, and then that cures with hot water, and then that's a new pipe and built within the old pipe. So we've got a lot of those improvements. We're making reliability improvements at lift stations, and we also have ongoing odor improvement projects. We do odor improvement projects every single year. We've got a system in place now that has really done a great job to reduce odors. We've got background odors in the community as measured from our EnviroSuite sensor network, a reduction of over 89% since 2019, and then we continue in that work. We just continued the GPI pipe reroute project, where we rerouted the entire pipeline coming from GPI and eliminated drops and areas where there, like waterfalls in the sewer that were creating a lot of turbulence and turbulent flow that was, helping to produce odors. That new sewer is completely sealed. There's no open pipe. The pipe is actually a pressure pipe that is gasketed and bolted together. And then inside, the manholes are actually sealed to where those covers are gasketed and sealed as well. Another project that we have, there's a lot of focus. We're going to be talking to the Kalamazoo City Commission about the Kalamazoo Sustainable Biosolids Alternative. The wastewater treatment plant right now is currently spending about $15 million a year to dispose of sludge. That number, if we go back in time to 2019, was about $4 million a year. So we've seen dramatic increases in our sludge disposal costs that are operations costs. And operation costs have to be directly paid. We need $15 million from ratepayers to take and throw that sludge into the garbage. It's high cost. It's the number one driving factor to increase your water bill. This is the number one thing increasing your water bill today is us taking sludge and throwing it in the landfill. This is also a contributor to odors in the community. We have a process that deals with a wet product. We manage and store a wet product at the site, and then we transport a wet product to the landfill, a product that contains over 75% water. So there's technologies out there. We know that if we were to shift and change our operations to handle, to store, to manage, to transport a dry product, it's going to be cheaper. It's going to be far more cost effective for Kalamazoo ratepayers. It's going to help our neighborhoods because it's going to improve odors when we don't have that wet material at the plant. And it's going to be more sustainable as well. We're not putting that stuff into the landfill. So we've actually got a good governance team that's working on that. We submitted a RFI last year. We had over 30 technologies that responded to that. We have an evaluation team working to evaluate those results. They narrowed it from over 30 technologies to, I believe, 4 technologies last year. They're meeting again here in November with the goal to come up with one technology that we can then move into design and actual construction. We also submitted an intent to apply to the Eagle State Clean Water Revolving Fund, which is a program that helps pay for and fund either through grant or low interest loan some of these very large scale projects. This is not going to be a cheap change. This is something that's going to be a 9-figure investment. So that's something that is certainly going to be a big project when it's ready to go, but it's going to be a great change and a very beneficial change for the community. Next slide, please. Water, this is the one that, if you remember from the first slide, $144 million of investment. Plan to start next year. Now it's going to take probably 3 years to build that investment out. So that's just all the programming dollars that are applied to start projects in 2025. We've had, as a community, a lot of success with lead service line replacements. There's a lot of success that we can attribute directly to the support that we get from the city commission, the city manager's office, and just a lot of hard work and dedication by staff. I'm going to name Anna Crandall, our chief engineer in water, as kind of the guiding light and leader of that program. That's the program that Anna runs. She's been in charge of that her whole time as an engineer here with the city. We've got, when we started this program in 2017, we had about 10,000 lead service lines in total across the city and the townships. We just crossed that 5,000th lead service line replaced here in September. So we're halfway through that goal. We've got another 2,600 lead service lines either already under contract or funded. So those those replacements in Edison in 25, that's already under contract, that's already approved by the city commission. That work starts here in November. That work is actually starting to happen now. That next group of 1,300, we just got awarded those dollars from the state, so that work will start in 2026. That still has to get bid out. That still has to come back to the city commission for award, but the funding is already there. Something unique that we're going to do in Knollwood starting this year is water main lining. You heard me talk earlier about sewer main lining, but that same technology is available to us for water main. We did a project 2 years ago in Millwood that lined a bunch of water main, and it was a project, so there's impacts from that. We actually have a temporary water main that's above ground that runs in the curb lawn or along the edge of the curb, and then there's like literal hoses that come out of that come into where your hose bib does at your house. So we actually have little signs that say do not turn off, do not remove hose. that's how we supply the house. And then what we do, we excavate holes and we go in and we cut open the water main, valve it off so it's not under pressure anymore because we're up on a temporary line fed from hydrants. And then a pipe within a pipe, NSF certified. It's almost like a fiberglass pipe then goes inside of that pipe. A robot goes into the main and then cuts out the services where you have a service. And then we put it all back together. And then you get, it's like brand new water main, but it doesn't involve everything you see on Westnedge and Whites Road and all that kind of stuff. So it's less impactful. It's more affordable, and there's areas we can't do it everywhere. One of the challenges we've got to be in an area that does not have lead. So it's something where we're not going to change out the services, and we can do all the work from inside the pipe. The pipe diameter has to be the pipe diameter that's going to continue to work for us. So if we're in a situation where we need to upsize the pipe, over an undersized diameter, we can't do it. So, we really like to do it in areas that have 8-inch main and the main that was installed after, that switch over to copper. So, after 1950. And so this is a huge area in Oldwood is going to get this work done. Improvements are continuing to happen at the treatment plant for optimized corrosion control. We've got system reliability improvements kind of all throughout. That's things like generators, things that are just making the stations more reliable so that when they run, they can run in all weather conditions, and that there's redundancy for those things as well. One of the things that, one of the big projects that's really driving a lot of that investment, the $144 million, is $110 million of investment in 4 project areas. I talked about the lead already. 2 other areas are PFAS, water main extension out in the townships. And then another project is consolidate Station 14 and Station 5 into one station, and then build a new station with iron removal, manganese removal, and PFAS removal. That's $51.3 million for that work. And so Kalamazoo Water meets all current standards for PFAS. We're well below Michigan MCL, but Michigan is continuing to reduce PFAS levels in response to federal changes that have happened. The feds have lowered those limits as well. So we've got a few stations that could be potentially over new federal regulations when those were to come out. So we know that we're going to have PFAS treatment on some stations to continue to use those reliably use those stations into the future. So that project's going to support that work and new stations. Some interesting facts about Station 5. Station 5 is our oldest continuously operated station. That station has been in service since 1914. It is now 2024. That station is 110 years old. So it is due for a new one. And in that time, we've learned a lot about station design, reliability, treatment. And so this new station is going to be built, to support us years into the future. Next slide, please. And that's it. Happy to take any questions anybody might have or any comments.
Great, thank you very much. Any questions or comments for Director Baker? Yes.
You said there was just the one-way water main conversion project planned for next year. Did I hear that right? Where was it again? I forgot.
So the water main lining?
Yeah, the redo that looks like what happened in Westnedge and
the full construction.
The full construction, yeah.
Burdick Street from Reed to Vine is a full reconstruction water main project. Porter from Kalamazoo Avenue to Ransom is a full reconstruct water main project. It's out in the township. There's going to be a full reconstruct water main project on Drake Road, on West Main from Drake Road to 131.
Okay.
So that's going to be full full go construction. We've got 2 other projects out in the township, I believe in Richland, that are, some of your letter streets that are going to be full go construction. And then the area in and around Edison, we're going to have some construction saturation in terms of there's going to be that lead service line work happening on every street and cross street in Edison, and at that same time there's going to be Consumers Gas replacing all the gas mains. So there's going to be a lot of construction presence in Edison next year.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other questions or comments? Yes.
Do you guys map out all the projects? Is that on the city's website?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We're working on a single layer map product right now that's going to provide all the city projects, all the Consumers Gas projects, all the developer projects, all the fiber projects, all the emergency water main projects, just all the projects in one layer space so that we can see them. We've got that right now up and running in beta test form. So it's our goal to get that public sometime before construction flies next year, likely April, May timeframe, so that we'll have a space that the public can go to and just see all the projects in kind of one easy shot. Yep.
Awesome. And then my other question was about the revenue from parking. I know you mentioned that just moved over to the city.
Yeah.
So when I look at the sources of funding for the improvements related to parking, it just says bond and then the working capital reserve. So what happens to the revenue from the parking decks?
So the parking revenue stays within the parking fund. I can tell you, just broadly that the parking fund is running negative, so it consumes fund balance of itself every year, and it needs supplement. So the current revenue received from parking is not enough to support the parking fund.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good question. Anyone else? Any other questions? Yes.
What should we? Was it? Hello? Hello. Sorry. What should we make of the projects that just don't have any funding associated with them? There's just a few, but.
They might, so that they could be projects that have already been completed, like they were funded in 23 or 22, and so they're just still showing up there for some reason as like a past project, or they're funded way out, and they could be funded in the future past that 5-year cutoff date. So that is a possibility.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions, comments? A couple things. I just want to say thanks for all the background and the detail. It's impressive work. I say that every year. It's rare to see this level of continued investment in infrastructure in a traditional urban community. So kudos to your team, kudos to the City Commission for this continued dedication to our sometimes over 100-year-old infrastructure. In particular, the link to the master plan. That's particularly rare to see the two sides marry like this. For those of you that don't know, the reason we're receiving this is because of that link. That's something that came about in a law change about 10 years ago or so. And so they wanted to bring the capital improvement plans to planning commissions to make sure that there was alignment with the master plan. So they bring it forward to the planning commission as the keepers of the master plan to make sure townships are a better example, that you're not building a water line in the middle of an area you have dedicated to preservation, for example. And so you see that marriage and you see that alignment there. So having said that, I might ask Attorney Bear, is there a particular motion or a particular type of approval we're asked for this evening, do we make, are we approving this? Are we recommending approval, or are we just receiving it and saying, like, kudos?
I believe just receiving it tonight, yes.
Okay. All right, last chance. Any other feedback? Okay. Thank you very much. Moving on then to city planner report.
A couple minor updates for the city planner report. At the meeting in December, we will have tentative dates for 2025. Typically, I believe 4th of July is after what would be the first Thursday. So looking ahead at the calendar, I would ask the Planning Commission members to take a look at July dates. If we do shift that, we'll look just so that it doesn't mess with the 4th of July holidays. Usually the common one where something comes up where it doesn't work. So those will be at the next meeting. And thank you for the responses. You all know the public will not. We have scheduled a joint meeting with the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority on December 11th, and that will be from 7 until, it's scheduled from 7 to 9. It'll be in the community room around the corner there, and the topic will be similar to infrastructure and planning, economic development and planning. There's a new economic development strategy, a lot of brownfield projects, so we're always looking at where's that good, where does the linkage occur. So thank you for those that can attend, and we'll get the schedule and all that out in the coming weeks. And lastly, we are coming to essentially the end of the first phase of Imagine Kalamazoo. Planet ends here in November and December, where in January and February we'll start moving on to the, we're in the Imagine It phase, where the Planet will start in February. So there's a couple more Imagine Kalamazoo reads for the Happy City book by Charles Montgomery. The next one will be November 20th, and that one is at the Washington Square Library. And the other one will be December 10th at NACD, which is at 612 North Park, and the Washington Square Library is 1244 Portage Street. And that is all of the information I have for the city planner's update. And also attached is the site plan list if there's any questions on any current projects. As a reminder, a lot of the work that the site plan committee does, those same engineers that do all of that capital improvement, they work on that committee as well and help sort out the private developments that come through the development process.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions for a city planner report? All right, then we'll move to public comments. This is public comments on non-agenda items for those in the audience or for those listening online. We will take your public comments on non-agenda items now. We'll ask that you either call in or you come to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes to speak on those items. We'll ask that you give your name and your address. For those listening online, I'll give you the number now so you have a chance to call in. It is 888-382-9556, 888-382-9556. And we have someone here, so go
Hello.
ahead. Hi.
My name is Montoya Sims. I'm here to speak about policy number 10.1, pages 1 through 15, and then policy number 10.6, pages 1 through 7. I wanted to speak about the injustice and unlawful practices in the 8th and 9th Circuit Court, and also through our police departments here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. They are falsifying court documentation and running Michigan residents through the criminal and civil system to keep the court dockets moving and to keep their jails housed. I have 2 jobs. I take care of a 75-year-old uncle of mine, and I have a 6-year-old child. I don't have a criminal background. I sued 78 local officials. I have an order here that I want to offer to the commission to review as well, and the form that's stating that I'm a habitual offender that does not wish to contest past convictions. I don't have any past convictions, meaning that the prosecutor and my public defender that was appointed to me falsified court documentation in order to incarcerate me in retaliation for a civil case that I won against them with Judge Elizabeth Gletcher in 2023. I had to take a case out of 9th Circuit 8th District, and the Court of Appeals because they all served as a conflict of interest. Bribery is going on, racketeering activity, and many other illegal things that are going on. Our city manager, Jim Rigsna, he's a part of the problem, and I am requesting that this commission call a special meeting, emergency meeting, for the mayor to investigate this and look into this, because as I stated, I am not a habitual offender, and I do wish to contest any past convictions that they're stating that I have. I also have that form with me. I have many other victims in Kalamazoo, Michigan that has went through the same thing. I have video evidence, documentation from my last court case as well. I've watched police officers plant drugs on regular citizens. I've watched officers pull teenagers out of their vehicle and do search and seizures when they were stopped for a routine traffic stop, which is a moving violation in law. So therefore, these departments that are here to protect and serve, they're not doing their job. The courts are making sure that they incriminate regular citizens like myself. I'm here to ask for the commission to follow these policy rules that I've outlined. It has lines through them, so I'm asking for everyone to review them for both policies that I had stated in the beginning of my comment. And so there's policy number 10.6 and 10.1, and then this is the habitual offender form, stating that I do not wish to contest. It has a spot on here for not applicable, meaning someone who does not have a past convictions. So it shows that this order from Judge Elizabeth Gletcher, I can use this order within the next 10 years to take them to criminal court and prosecute them, which is why.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the audience? Okay. Anyone online want to speak?
Might be a ring from the bell. Nope.
No one
Nobody
online?
on the phone.
Okay, then we will close the public comment period. Commissioner Pradel.
Pretty well. Is that on? Good. Hope everyone's feeling somewhat rested after a couple days from election, the national election and local elections. It leads me to just want to take a moment to really thank our city clerk office team. I cannot convey how hard that team works, just in general, but during these elections that are as contentious as they are, whatnot, the amount of work that this team puts together. I mean, from coordinating all of our poll workers to early voting, absentee processing and changes with that. We have drop boxes all over the city as well to manage. I just really want to thank them, and I hope the community appreciates how hard that team is working to make sure that we have a really as close to flawless election process as possible for folks. We have the Imagine Kalamazoo 2035 process taking place right now, and there are 2 survey opportunities right now that the public can take part of. If you've got your crayons or pencils, if you want to jot this down, but at kalamazooCity.org/goal survey is a page you can go to. It gives you a chance to actually review and provide feedback on our current strategic goals to help guide the next ones that we look at as well. On that same page, there's also an Imagine It survey as well. So there's 2 surveys on that one page that you can access, what will really help us with the process as we start getting further along in the Imagine Kalamazoo 2035 process. So wanted to make sure to share those. Thank you all for being here tonight, and hope you have a great rest of the week.
All right, thank you. Planning Commissioner comments. Any comments from Planning Commissioners? Right here? No. Wow. Nothing. All right. Well, we're entering the end of the year. Time to reflect and be thankful. So everyone enjoy that period. Hopefully the weather gets a little more normal. Enjoy. Everyone have a nice month of November, and we'll see you in a few weeks. Agenda is done, so this meeting's adjourned.